to get this recording.
Recording in progress.
Okay, great. I'd like to call to order the Oregon City Library Board's work session. And in attendance are Cynthia Andrews, Larry Osborne, Heidi Blackwell, Nick Dierkman via Zoom, Bill Parton, Lisa Oreskovich, Greg Williams, and Denise Butcher. And the first item on the agenda is the summer reading program review.
All right. Thank you, David. As most of longer time board members know, every year we do a kind of a summer reading overview presented by our staff, and I am very happy to welcome our adult services, teen services, and youth services staff. I will let them introduce themselves, and I'm going to turn it over to them. They're gonna astound and wow you with all their information. So, starting with Blake, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Blake Kincaid, addressed as the Doctor Who, but I'm really Blake Kincaid. Underneath all of this.
The TARDIS is out there.
The TARDIS, well, actually, I brought it with me. It's on my socks. TARDIS on my sock. So I'm the adult services librarian and started in May of this year.
I'm Fran Chusing, and I am the teen librarian. And sorry for 1 minute. I'm Barrett Miller. I'm the youth services librarian too, but I just call myself the children's librarian. So more clear at the same time.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So, okay, it's your presentation. So you just tell me when I need to go to the next next slide.
So summer reading 2023. Our theme this year was Find Your Voice. That is a theme that is nationally through the IREAD program, which Oregon is a member of, and we are required to use the theme in order to get the funding for our kids' summer reading program. So we did Find Your Voice. Just go ahead and scroll down, Greg. Some changes from past summer reading programs is that this year, for the first time since the pandemic, we've created separate challenges for kids and teens, which is kind of what we'd always wanted to do, but we were a little bit more flexible during the pandemic about how we set things up. And then kind of had some time crunches last year, in particular with having a very short time to launch an in-person program. So this was the first year we had like a full planning timeline. We were able to fully implement the summer programs. We were able to reinstate our teen bingo card. Before the pandemic, we actually had a bingo card, and because we had started using Beanstack and we used Beanstack for the teen summer reading, we sort of modified it until Beanstack decided to create a bingo card. So we were able to go back to our bingo card style reading log, and I think we shared a little bit more about the details later on that.
For adult summer reading, I got here in late May, so there really wasn't a whole lot of time available for staff to do some planning and make changes. But I can say, as somebody coming from other libraries, looking at what other libraries have done, I was pretty excited that we're in the city. Specifically, this library has such a robust adult summer reading program. So I think we benefited from the fact that it's already quite successful.
A couple of challenges that we faced this year. The biggest one for the kids is that we found out in mid-May that there was going to be a partial reinstatement of countywide incentives for children's summer reading. Prior to the pandemic, there had been like a really elaborate system of coupons and rewards that were negotiated for us by Washington County. Washington County chose to stop offering that program, and Clackamas County did not have the resources to step up and fill in. So we've been going along operating on the assumption we wouldn't be getting any of those incentives back, particularly as kind of times have changed. Some of the incentives had turned into, instead of being a free thing for kids and families, it was a coupon, which, required parents to, pay additional money in order to benefit from it and feel like a great prize. So there were some upsides to losing that program, just because there were some ways that it was really not serving our families super well. This year, however, we did get the free Trailblazers ticket and the Oregon State Fair pass back. However, we found this out in very late May, and we did not even actually find out how many coupons we were going to get until after summer reading has started. So it was like 2 weeks into summer reading, we finally got like a package of coupons, and we're like, okay, this is what we have. So it was a challenge to get that integrated into our program, since again, we had very little notice and we didn't get those final numbers until after the program was already launched. So we're hoping that there will be a little bit more of a.
Were they all distributed though?
Not all of it. What we did is we offered them, in addition to the free Mike's token that we'd advertised, we asked people to, we got these extras, would you like, a Trailblazers ticket, a state fair ticket? And there were lots of people who were excited and lots of people who were just like, I'm not gonna use that, no thank you. So, but the people who were excited about it were very glad it was back.
For the teen summer reading, one of the challenges, I guess you would call it a challenge, is that the readers can read, they can read anywhere in the library, but we have the young teen section that's downstairs, and we have the teen section that's upstairs, but the teen summer reading encompassed kind of that entire age bracket. So we had, so the readers were sort of split between people going downstairs and people going upstairs. So we had to offer signups both at children's and upstairs at reference. This was the first year we offered signups for teens at reference. And that's just a way to encourage teens to come upstairs and go to the teen section, get your books for the teen section. But it also created challenges with cross-training staff, which really wasn't a challenge, but it was something new for reference. They hadn't really had to worry about it, and because our program is slightly different than the adult program that they're used to, it just took a little bit extra time to train them. Yeah.
And for adults, it's the same challenge, just a lack of staffing during the planning phase. So the one adult services librarian who was here did pretty much most of the work getting things ready, repackaging the stuff from last year. And like I said, the good news is it was such a strong program last year that basically doing everything and reusing the stuff from the previous year was quite successful. There's room for improvement, which we'll talk about later, but all things considered, building on last year was the right move. So everything was pretty much ready to go when I got here.
And just aside, that the staff member that was Jen Uven at AR, who has done lots of our band programming, and she's fantastic. So I just want you to hear her name so you can recognize, she's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We just have some numbers up here to highlight the budget. The one thing I want to draw your attention to on the kids budget is that almost all of our children's programming is paid for by the Ready to Read grant. So it purchases our prize books, the things for the prize drawing, kits, performers, activities, and it also pays for the BSAC software that we use throughout the library for a variety of things during the year. So that money pays for the bulk of what we do here.
Will we have that grant next year, do you know?
Yes, it is an annual grant issued by the state library, and so all libraries in Oregon, as long as they complete the grant application, which I did in July, they will get a specified set of money. We're just under the $10,000 mark based on our population, so the number of youth age 0 to 14 within our service area. And then we also, it's a two-factor formula, so it's population and then the square mileage of our service area.
So the same goes for the teen budget. Thank goodness for Barrett, who applies for that grant every year. That makes my job easier. But because that grant covers 13 and 14-year-olds, we get to have some of that money to purchase our prize books and our prize drawings and our teen book boxes, which I will explain what those are in a later slide.
And then as far as money spent for the adult program, when I got here, I was quite impressed with the resources devoted to the adult summer reading program. This is something I think this library should be proud of. And now that I can, hopefully, going forward, I'll take some credit for it too. But I think having this much money devoted to it. And this particular year, there was less money spent than maybe in future years because all three of our performances that we did under the adult summer reading and all each month, June, July, and August, there were no charge. So not every performer is free like that. I'm used to performing about $400 or $500. So potentially next year we may have an additional $1,000 for performers, depending on who we get.
timeline slide is we totally on as kind of I use the same slide template every year. Some years we have different deadlines for things that I wanted to be aware of, and this year we didn't really have that. So sorry, just letting you know, it ran June 1st to August 31st for all ages. That's all we got. And then just to give you an overview of what the programs were for the Children's Challenge, that was for readers up to age 11. And what we asked them to do was set a daily reading goal. It could be any goal that they wanted, and then keep track of how many days they reached the goal. So we had a couple of suggestions based on different age group, but it really was designed to be open-ended and flexible so that kids can set their own goals. We know that kids are reading at different levels, at different ages and at different, stages on their own personal journey. And so being able to keep it really open-ended allows us to be a lot more flexible and a lot more accessible so that kids can participate at whatever level is best for them. And then in addition to the daily reading goals, we also had bonus weekly activities that kids can do at home and earn extra tickets, we'll talk about in a little bit, just for doing reading and learning activities at home.
The teen bingo card, those were a mix of, because we're moving from what Barrett is trying to do with the children's daily reading challenge to now moving them into getting them to try things that they might not pick up and read. So like having a genre that they might not read. So it might be, so some of the squares had I think all the genres that you possibly think of really were on the squares. In addition to some activities that they can do. So it's a way for them to start exploring other types of reading materials and activities that they may not normally do to kind of stretch them a little bit.
For the adults, it was an entirely paper-based process last year and this year. There have been feedback in the past that a lot of our dedicated library users who wanted to participate in like the online software. So we did everything by paper. We had activities, activities more popular, no bingo for adults. And I was pushing the adults outside of the comfort zones. And we had a lot of positive feedback about that. And there was also a lot of feedback that people enjoyed the excuse for physically coming over the building. Because to enter into prize drawings, you had to put slips of paper in the jars. So that started coming into the branch and the library.
And I think I'm correct on this. The logos are all look great, but the teen logo was especially cool. And I think Barrett, you designed that. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the most popular one internally. We all wanted our shirts to have that logo.
Yes. That one. Yeah, I made it happen. Yeah, well, it's not yours. Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a sound wave book. It's just nicely done.
Thanks. I try really hard. I'm not Gina, but I'm pretty good. So just to kind of explain some of the incentives that went along with the program. So all kids got a free book at sign up. And then halfway through the program, so there were, I want to say there were 13 weeks in the summer. So after reading on 42 days or 6 weeks, so about at least 50% of the days during summer break, kids would earn additional prizes. And so after they met that 42 days of meeting their goal, they got a free Mike Striving token plus those bonus Trailblazers ticket and state fair ticket at that stage as well. And then for every 7 days that kids read, or for every 1 weekly activity they completed, they got a ticket to the grand prize drawing. We'll talk about what prizes were available, but for every week of reading, they would get it, and every additional activity they get tickets for a chance to win a bigger prize.
For teens, at sign up, they also got a free book, and this year we had a really special thing which I'm going to hand out. So if you want one, take one. We had a teen advisory committee member we had two actually that were foreign exchange students. One was from Egypt, and she brought with her to give out to all of her friends when she made them these papyrus Egyptian bookmarks. So she was getting ready to leave, and she's like, I still have all these bookmarks. Can you use them? And I'm like, yes, let's. And actually, I think it was her idea to give them away as part of the sign up. So if you would like one, you can take many, because obviously I have tons. They're very special. So yeah, help yourself to those. So they got a book, they got a bookmark. So once they got 5 in a row on their square, they got a $5 gift certificate for the Friends of the Bookstore. And then once they got a blackout on their bingo card, they got a token for Mike's Drive-In for ice cream. And then for every bingo square that they completed, they would get a ticket to put into their their prize drawings for at the end of the summer reading. So lots of opportunities to get prizes.
So for the adults, the big thing at the beginning was the free tote bag. We had 2 colors, red and blue. And very unscientifically, I can tell you the people of Oregon City disliked the red. So lots of red left, and that was the only color that we got rid of the rest of the red.
Dark communists.
That's funny because that's the one I was like, I'll take the red.
Yeah.
It too. So I thought
It's a lovely red.
It's nice.
Yeah.
very unscientific.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. But they are very popular. People did like getting the tote bag, so they're improving that. We'll maybe choose some different colors next year and see how that goes. And then for prizes, for every book read, you get an entry, and for every the activities that were included in the tote bag, you put in an entry. And these are all pieces of paper that's in jars. So we have 4 jars. 3 were for the grand prize drawings at the end because we have 3 grand prize baskets. We have nice tablets in them. And expensive and high quality, and then some other associated items that are themes, so there's like a lighting one, the music one. So those are 2 things. But the thing that really kept driving people in was the weekly drawings. Much lower value prizes, but the frequency, I think, and the quantity, so made everyone feel like they had an actual shot at the end. And so that we call that a treasure chest. Because every week we would have 2 winners for the treasure chest, and they could take like a cheap item out of the treasure chest. So I hope that's a structure in the future, because we have no negative feedback about when we're structured the prizes. Everything's super accurate. And one thing I wanted to mention was the technical library helped us. This was something that Jen organized kind of last minute, and it worked out really well. We had a cart of books, really nice, high quality books. Brand new that we donated to the friends, and so they gave them to us to give as part of our prize package. So people got their choice of free, brand new, not discarded library books, and high quality books.
So just wanted to give an age breakdown of the registration. So for by the challenge, so we had 908 kids. I think that's what it says. I can't see very well. 174 teens and 301 adults. So that was either about the same or an increase for all of our ages. And then if you scroll down to the next slide, we have a breakout of the preschool versus school age. And you can see that we had like 275 preschoolers, but the bulk of our readers for the kids program were in elementary school. And to break it down at quite this level on the slide, but I've been tracking the status since 2017, and every year, first graders are number 1, like age group for doing summer reading. Like the kindergarten and 2nd grade is our biggest group, but first grade is like the peak. It's like that stage when they're becoming readers and they're having to do all that practice. So those are the kids who are the bulk of our program. So I just wanted to highlight that.
The elementary schools, the teachers know of the program.
Yes, we send things out to the school district. They've had some staffing changes and have implemented some new software. So we weren't quite as in the flow last spring as we have been in the past, just because the procedure had changed a little bit. But we do like this fall, we've gotten set up with the new school district notification system, and we went from we had like in September we had a couple programs where nobody showed up, and then as soon as we posted the October ones through the school districts, they all filled up really quickly. So we know that our marketing was not as effective last year, but we've seen through this now that we've gotten into the new system, that it's going to be really effective for next year. And then to Kids Summer Reading Challenge, one thing I forgot to mention is that with the way we do it with the kids and with the Teen Summer Reading Challenge is that
all of the reading has to be entered in the stack in order to be eligible for prizes, just because, with almost about, the kids and teens, go over 1,000 participants, and that would be a lot of little clips of paper to manage. With all the different prize options we have, so, everything does have to, families have to register in the stack, and they get all of their reading entered to be eligible for prizes, but everybody gets a paper reading log. We had English and Spanish available for both kids and teens. People can sign up online. We had a computer at the library in the children's room. We walk everybody through step by step. They take their paper home, and then they could either at the end of the summer online, or we had a couple people who actually followed through on this, come back and bring the paper in, and we'd enter it into the computer for them. So there was an option to do, you have to log on at least twice, but you could do the rest of the program completely on paper. So we had just over 900 kids registered for the challenge. 281 of them made it to that halfway mark and read on 42 days. We had a whole 23 who read on 91 days this summer. And on average, each kid, the average number of days read was 26, which is before the pandemic, we used to do paper reading logs of 25, you have to read on 25 days. And so that's right on what our participation levels were prior to the pandemic. And we added all up, there were 24,000 days that kids did read this summer. So that's number. It was so close. Wow.
I know, you one more. Grab a kid off the street.
Yeah. As I mentioned, we had weekly activities that kids could do at home, and the most popular ones were the ones starting out in the summer when everybody's motivation was still good. So visit a park, write a letter, and read it outside. This year's theme was Find Your Voice, so the write a letter one was new, and I was really pleasantly surprised by how many people wrote a letter. I thought it was great. That was our number 2, and it was even more popular than reading outside. So, and we open a new one every week, but they could be completed at any point during the summer. As I mentioned, we have prize money categories. Menchies continues to be by far our most popular option, within the other 2 gift cards at about 50%. 50% of Menchie's interest. The enthusiasm for the book baskets isn't quite as high, but those have been very fun to put together. We put together some, books and drawing supplies, and there were some very cool activities. So I think we'll probably continue to offer those. And I'm just gonna have to buy more Menchie's gift cards if that's for that. And then we continue to do all of our year-round programs this summer, and I don't put them in the summer reading presentation just because they're kind of ongoing stuff. So we have our story times, our creative kits, art lab, Lego lab, things like that happen year-round. So this is just highlighting our special programs. So you'll see that Touch a Truck was through the roof with 600 people. We used to do that as a kickoff event in June, and this year we moved it to mid-July, and attendance was probably higher than it's ever been. And it was also really funny. I track summer reading registrations, and it always 4th of July is when it just falls off the cliff and nobody registers. But we did Touch a Truck on July 11th, and our summer reading registration was continued at super high levels on when we Touch a Truck. It didn't matter when we opened it up, and people came to sign up for summer reading. So it was wildly successful. We partnered with Fire Department, Police Department, Public Works, B&E Leasing, and we'll be continuing to do that every summer because it's a lot of fun and completed it. We also had a concert with Natalia, who's a bilingual children's musician from Colombia, who came in June, and then we had our first Dance Oregon City events at the end of July. We had about 100 people for that. We'll see 2 big zeros on there. One of them is from the Dance Oregon City Bollywood event that we were hoping to do at the Festival of the Arts. On a day that was 102, and the event was scheduled outdoors from noon to 2. So nobody came to that. And also our partner who was coordinating that had an injury that day, and so was not able to be there. And then we also unfortunately had to postpone our Red Yarn concert because it was another 100-degree day with a very intense air quality alert. There was a lot of smog and some smoke in the air. It was just not a good idea to be outside. So we are bringing Andy, whose stage name is Red Yarn. He'll be back in January for a concert at Pioneer Center. For the Teen Summer Reading Challenges, they said do a bingo. 74 earned a 5-in-a-row bingo, and those 42 readers continued on for the blackout, so that was good. And on average, they read, the readers read about 6 books, and we had a total of 1,050 books read for the summer of those readers. So that's that. Some of our most popular bingo categories were music from a different decade, listen to music from a different decade, books that were made into movies, to read outside was also popular, and graphic novels, not surprising. I'm actually surprised that wasn't number 1. And then actually I was kind of surprised by the adventure books being like this. So I need to buy more adventure books for my collection. So that is And then, what is this? Oh yeah, the prizes. So our highest prize was Dutch Brothers, getting those kids captivated. That was actually something, that was obviously one that we didn't offer to the children's, and that was very unique to the teams, and I think our TAC wanted that one, so they were spot on with that. Excuse me. And then followed by the book basket. We only did one book basket because we have less participants. And it was, I included, I think 3 books, various. I tried to make a variety of characters, with diverse backgrounds. A journal, a blank, no line journal, so that they could either journal or draw. A couple other really cool things, hydro flags. And I don't remember. And then the last minute I threw some extra stuff in there that I had in my office. So so they really like that. I like putting those together. And then White Rabbit with Menchie's, and then Geeks and Games. So for the summer we did we did three events, one each month, which was the first one was the Maker Lounge, which I had to, thank goodness Barrett remembered, because I had to think about what that was. It was kind of like, we have an art gym and an art lab event here. It was sort of like a potpourri of things that they could do at that particular program. So we had the button maker out. We had dragon eye. Oh yeah, the dragon eye necklaces, and there was a third one. Painting with the tape, the resist painting. Oh yeah, they were painting. They were fantastic. So we had 18 people show up there, which actually was really, like, I think that was one of the highest programs I have ever had here at the library, especially during summer. And then we did DIY cup coasters, which was super fun. And then we did tie-dye t-shirts. It's sort of like a tradition for us to do tie-dye t-shirts at the end of summer. So they really enjoy that. And then the teen book boxes, I want to take a little minute to talk about. That was something that we started as a program during COVID to reach teens who, you know, I would lure them in goods. So then it was so popular that I decided to keep it as a summer reading specific thing. So it's kind of tricky because I had to start registration for that before school ended. So in May, you could register for a teen book box, and it's based off of like a subscription. And then once they were registered for all 3 months of the summer, and then they had to fill out what we call reader advisory to find out what they like to read, what they don't like, what are some books they've read in the past that they like, and what, all the things. And so I collect all that information before summer even starts, and then starting June 1st and every first of the month, June, July, and August, they can come in, and I've prepared specially curated boxes with books in them specific to that reader, and then included in that is generally like 2 or 3 snacks, and then they get some sort of little tchotchke. Like one year I had meditating Sasquatch in there and stickers and things like that. It's super fun to kind of compile that all together. And then the really great thing is they don't actually know what they're going to get until they put their box on the self-checkout stations, and then they can see the titles that are in the box if they're even paying attention to that, or they open up the box. And so it's super fun. It's like Christmas. So I get to put that together every month, and we had 13 participants throughout the whole summer, so that was really great.
Then for adult summer reading, my statistics are a little different because we did paper, so we didn't have the advantage of the software tracking the granular data. But the numbers are still quite amazing. I did go through the count on the paper slips at the end, which is on my list of things so 301 registered, but each of them, of course, could put in multiple entries. And so as you can see, it's between 500 and 600 for all of them. The most popular one was the writing team basket. You can see the numbers aren't that different between the two baskets. And we had 563 entries over the course of the whole program for the weekly raffles. So everyone pretty much spread their chips across the roulette wheel. It was a lot of fun to watch people kind of strategize and put their different slips of paper in.
I mean, they were very emphasized. And it's a one. I love watching them.
And so I think Oregon City is proving that the adult summer reading program has a lot of potential. A lot of libraries haven't even started trying it yet, so it's kind of a new thing. So the activities, like I said, the bingo was the most popular one. And I have an example of it. So it had little squares. You would be challenged to do something different. Read a book about art or music, or read a book a friend recommends. But it would also push you into some other categories that you don't want to read. So read a novel, read a book with an animal as the main character, things like that. So we got a lot of feedback that people enjoyed trying things from outside their usual reading habits. We got also names and a couple of things. There's a cryptogram, and that was the funniest because we got feedback, a fair amount of feedback, and it was evenly divided for people who were really angry about the cryptogram. It was too hard, it was too long, and the fact that there was a challenge in the bag that they just weren't willing to put the time in to complete stayed with that. And then we had an equal number of people who were like, thank you for putting something in there that was a challenge. So these other things are too easy. So thank goodness there's at least something in here that like maybe we haven't worked with. So I think we'll keep doing the cryptogram. But it is interesting, the only negative feedback that we really got from people was about the cryptogram. Too hard. And then of course the little slips over there, people were able to just write down the book that they read, which book you read, you got entry. When I was counting the slips, I did not read what they're slipping paper, but a lot of people did write reviews of the books that they read. So I think people just enjoyed the thing of writing about it. So I know that the vast majority of people who really read the books are taking credit for it because there were reviews. And I thought that was pretty impressive.
Sorry.
Business development. Oh, no, this is always.
Yes. So a couple things to know. We had a 22% increase in elementary student participation this year, which I think is really great. I think partly just we've noticed anecdotally and like through our door count that like our door count has gone up significantly this year compared to last year. And I think for summer of 2022, everybody was still just in pandemic survival mode. I think they'd forgotten that library used to be part of their routine, you know, that having to check to see if we were open again, things like that. So I think it's partly just as we've noticed our like foot traffic and circulation increase, we're seeing an increase in our summer reading numbers that reflect that. I put these in the wrong order, but the youth, there was one interesting decrease in the youth, and that was that we had more kids participating, but we had a 24% decrease in the number of prize drawing ticket entries. And I don't know if that was from either families getting busy, getting distracted, and keeping track of all their reading on paper, but then not entering it into the app and not entering the ticket drawings and doing that. But I did get a couple of people, it's a grand prize drawing, there's not that many prizes, not that many people win, and I got a couple of complaints, like, my kid has entered tickets 2 years in a row and hasn't won a single prize, so I think there's a degree of, feeling like there's so many people participating now. Well, the first year we were kind of doing these grand prize drawings was in 2020, we had like 250 readers and we had a bunch of prizes. So a lot more people, a larger percentage of people were winning just because we had it smaller. But as participation grows, that number goes down.
We have a 71% increase in the number of books read by teens this year. I really have no idea. It sounds really great.
Summer reading program in the past, and so some of the teams would do the daily reading challenge where they would set a reading goal, and some of the teams would do the book badge challenge where they were doing more of a bingo card. And so this year we actually had a team challenge, and so the teams really rose to that. Yeah.
Then for the adults, it's kind of an interesting combination, a slight decrease in the number of entries, 8% down, but of the 301 people who signed up, they really did participate. We had a lot of entries per person. So I'd say out of those 301 people, the vast majority of them took a lot of books. And almost all of them, or at least the ones I talked to, have taken the activities seriously and wanted to maximize their entries. So they did all of the activities that we included as well. The 13% increase in tag entries.
Then we just wanted to share a little bit of community feedback. The first 3 things come from the children's summer reading survey. I sent out a short survey to all of the accounts registered for the children's summer reading program just to get some feedback from parents and sometimes from tweens and teens as well about what they like best about summer reading and what could we do to what could we add in the future to make to keep kids engaged in reading and learning over the summer. I also asked whether kids are reading at the same level or increased reading level, and I want to say we were, if not 100%, there was maybe one person who said a lower reading level, but almost all of the survey responses kids have a goal of maintaining or improving their reading skills over the summer, which is great. These comments I like, just from emphasizing that the prizes and the tickets are really great for kids who are already confident readers. It also works really well for beginning readers who need a little bit of extra structure and motivation to help build those skills. And particularly again, highlighting that the first graders really that's the age group that really needs the most support building those reading skills. The one thing that was really interesting to me, I had 3 or 4 different comments, which constituted 10% of my survey results. For people saying we would like to have some sort of book club for kids in the library, agendas, book chats for adults, where people just come and talk about what they're reading. And there were several people requesting. I don't know whether there were kids or parents requesting it, but there was some interest in having some book chats for child readers to get together and talk with other readers about their reading, or an interesting connection and sharing current books. Take away. So for the kids program in particular, another piece of parent feedback that I get is related to different types of incentives and rewards for reading. And it's always really tricky because there's a really large body of research that shows if you want kids to develop interest, a love of reading and to be motivated readers who choose to read for pleasure throughout their lives, if you add any sort of rewards into that, it actually decreases their motivation to read. So we have to be very thoughtful about how we implement rewards for the kids' summer reading program and to kind of try to I've been thinking about how I do it, and it's I kind of structure the rewards for logging in and stats because that gives us data to track. But if they're just participating on paper, there's there isn't quite that sense of reward that comes with it. But what we are seeing is that parents are sometimes want there's requests around incentives, but what I think what seems to be the common theme uniting all of those things is wanting some way to help their kids to mark or visualize their progress. So I don't know how many of you were here in 2017 when we did the Race with the Chiefs for Build a Better World, and we had the giant life-size cardboard pads of former chief band of OCPD and then Chief Red Dalton back in Aspire, and we had like a race going between, you know, when kids met reading goals, they would get stickers and they get sent to vote for this too. And it was fun for people to come in over the summer and see all the stickers building up and even getting more. So we're looking at doing some sort of thing like that to help kind of create like a visual thing of showing everybody's reading coming together. Like a really good idea for having it be a tree and putting leaves on it. The other challenge is that next year's theme is sustainability, and stickers are not especially sustainable. So we're trying to find a way to do that. But I think of like some form of like recycled paper or, you know, doing some sort of tree, I think will be great. So we're looking at doing something like that, and then continuing to find creative ways to meet demand for more varied youth programs, because people cannot get enough programs and we have very limited staffing. Looking at that. And then the third one is kind of a combination for all of us is doing some sort of all ages end of summer reading party. And I believe you got a suggestion from patrons about doing something for adults.
We almost tried to do something this year, but it's just not reasonable to plan a big event like that halfway through summer reading. So there was enough feedback and requests from patrons to seriously consider it this year.
Yeah, and you know, it's nice, you know, both in the feedback that adult services got about wanting that end of summer reading party, and the feedback, you know, children's survey had about wanting more opportunities to connect with other people participating in the program. Like there really is a desire for more like activity, like interaction between people who are just doing the reading program. It's also nice to have a big celebration to celebrate all the reading we've been doing as a community. And from the kids' perspective in particular, like that would also, having a party would also be a great way to help with getting reading logs entered into the stack, giving us more opportunities to support parents. Because yeah, like, you know, entering step into a computer can be challenging, especially if you have multiple kids. And so having, you know, a big party to come to where we can help with that, I think would be really, really great. And then possibly doing some of our prize drawings at the events. And something like that to really like foster a sense of community.
Now for the adult summer reading, we are considering what will be required to actually include an option for using Bean Stack and having an online participation as well as all paper. What I observed was that we really have kind of three groups that are doing the adult summer reading. We have our older patrons, who are the ones who have been giving the feedback that they would like the online version and give on the paper. So I want to make sure we don't lose such a large contingent of active users. But we also noticed that we had some parents coming upstairs with their kids in tow, having done something downstairs related to their kids' summer reading participation, and they're like, you know, there's an adult summer reading program. They were coming upstairs. But I think that contingent would be very comfortable with also doing it on Bean Stack, which they're already doing with their kids. So I think we might be able to draw in more parents whose kids are participating. And then I think the third contingent is that we have adults with disabilities who can't do the youth summer reading because of their age. And so they really want to participate. We have some very active adults with disabilities participating, and it really build a certain need for that community. So I think combination of software and the paper option, if we can figure out how to do it as efficiently as possible, I think we will increase participation next year and enlarge those other two groups, along with the older patrons who seem to be the benefit of the sign-up this year.
Great. Well, sounds like a fabulous summer. Any questions from the board?
You talked a little bit about people's feedback in a survey. What does the survey look like, or how do you get that input from those that participate?
So everybody who signs up for summer reading has the in ESAC has the option to put in either a phone number or an email. Anyone who puts in an email gets a link to a 3-question Google form that is very open-ended. And I think I said maybe one or two reminder emails. And so yeah, everybody who signs up provides their email address, and then if you provide an email address, you get the survey. Obviously, there's not really a way to contact the phone patrons, but yeah, not everybody chooses to fill it out. People are busy. I know that when I get surveys, unless I really have something I feel moved to say, I often just delete it. So we don't get 100% survey feedback. And then also keep in mind, you know, we have 908 kids signed up. Many of those kids are from families where there's 2 or more children in the family, so it's a small number of kids. Background.
The adults, we would do a survey because the requisite means that. And the majority of our signups, we did ask for contact information, so we told them there's one, drawing. And the majority of okay is spenders. The survey was prohibited as far as the amount of time it took. But we're looking with the next year to get it's even more scientific. Tricks to get enough participation in the results are meaningful and such that.
Anything for non-English readers?
Well, for children's and teens, we offered Spanish reading logs and bingo cards, and so that was kind of
for the paper, because those are two biggest languages. But Beanstack is fully set up to be translated into any language that's supported by Google Translate. So any Russian speakers, Ukrainian speakers, or almost any other language can just go into the bottom right corner, change their language for Beanstack, and do the whole online portion of the challenge in their language.
Right.
So we do have that level of support. I will say we made Spanish reading logs, and I gave out maybe 5 over the course of the summer. It's just a small percentage of our population. And there were some people who I checked with who were like in the library speaking Spanish with their kids, and I offered them an option. They're like, some were like, oh yes, we prefer Spanish, but some prefer English. So we do see that like the language of the reading log chosen is not always, a measure of the language knowledge of the person.
Right, I'm conscious of time. Anything else?
Just a quick comment. I like this program because it goes across all age groups, and also we touch more people than a lot of our other programs. So I think that's really great that we do that. And the other thing is I like the link in with the parks, because I've been involved in other not-for-profit organizations, and we did the same thing. It was really the Lions Club, and we had a contest, and part of it was to have people go to different parks in the city. And I thought the fact that you had it involved in this program really impressed me. So thank you for all the effort that you've done to make this successful program.
And well done, thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say, summer reading, our staff makes it look so easy. It just comes off that there's so much planning and work that goes into this. So thank you to the 3 staff members who are here sitting in front of you. I also want to say that summer reading, it's a whole library. Everybody just gets behind this. Like on a day with Touch a Truck, when we've got 600 people coming in the building, by noon, everybody in the building is shell shocked and just so. But I mean, our traffic goes up, and so just every day, every staff member who's working is welcoming people, promoting summer reading, and helping our programmers work with the crowd. So it's an all library effort, and I'm really all the success we have is these 3 put a lot of effort into, but it's also the rest of the staff also contributes to it. So.
One other quick thing, I would love to see the number of the people that are in the city versus unincorporated area that are participating in the program. If that's not super hard to do, that would be really good data to have.
Now, that's not actually data that we can collect, unfortunately, because we don't go through the library. The way the sign up works for Beanstack is it's not integrated with library cards. So we don't ask.
Okay. I assumed that it was, but thanks for that.
For the children's program is that we do ask school-age children to provide the name of their school. So we can get a breakdown of the number of children at each elementary school, which then kind of, we know for sure that Redland and Beaver Creek are unincorporated.
Right.
So we can get numbers for the elementary school students who are participating, and that can be kind of like a little snapshot that we can, again, it's not comprehensive, but we can, we ask the name of the school at registration, so we can get the data and the breakdown by school participation.
Right.
Just a thought. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barrett, Sabrina, and Blake. Thank you very much. And you're welcome to stay, for the rest of the meeting, but you're also free to go.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the library tactical plan update.
Okay.
Greg, I will hand that off to you to lead us through this, please.
I will, I mean, we're running a little over on time, so I'll try to be quick on this. So first, I want to start with an apology to the board. In reviewing all the work that we had done on this, in my mind, I thought that we had a meeting where, you know, we all came together and said, hey, this tax plan looks great. I realized we haven't done that as a library board. So this is a work session, so we don't necessarily vote on things here. So my plan is at our next meeting, I will formally bring that to you. That said, we have started to work on the tactical plan and the draft, because we have had conversations about, you know, and this board has had multiple opportunities to look at this. So I did want to apologize for not closing that loop in the official capacity, but I also wanted to present this because in our original thought, this would be a quarterly update that I was going to provide to you, and it's time for our quarterly update. So we have been doing work on all of these things that we tentatively identified as the initiatives, activities we want to do. Oh wait, let me share. Let me make sure Nick can see all this. So let me start with this one. And so I know as part of our discussions, we did have, you know, we have some templates of putting together project plans, which I will get to. I will ask for the board's understanding that, you know, it's just the two of us. With, you know, we don't have admin support, so when we're putting together documentation and things like that, it's something that we have to work at. But I did put together this kind of simple format. This is something I will admit, I will give credit to the state library. This is kind of the format they have used for their strategic plan. And since I'm on that board, I felt very justified in just kind of stealing their format. And this is just a very high level way to convey information about what progress has been made. So as we discussed, our tactical plans tend to be a 2-year plan. So you work on the first year stuff. As the second year approaches, we can see, do we need to modify any of that? And then what are the next ones that we're going to do for the next year after that? Kind of a rolling 2-year. So I assigned some categories to each of these. We've got not yet started. We've got on hold, which would be, we would use in case we decided, oh, maybe this is something we need to reevaluate. We've got 2 versions of in progress. This is something that we use at the state library, and I thought it kind of worked pretty well because there's in progress kind of noodling on it, thinking about it, doing research, planning for it. And then there's in progress, you're actually implementing it and doing it. So I thought there was value in differentiating between those 2 statuses. And then there's a completed status. So I'm totally open to feedback on if there are different categories you'd like to see. My suggestion would be, if you're on the fence, maybe we try this for a couple quarters and see how it works. But presuming that is okay, you can see everything has been broken down. So we've got 12 activities identified in our tactical plan for year 1. We've got 5 total identified in year 2. All the year 2 ones are not yet started, which is fine. Yeah, that's to be expected. Mm-hmm. And so of the 12 that we have identified for this year, you can see we've got 7 that have started the research planning phase. We've got 1 that I feel we're far enough in that I can call it that we're in implementation phase on it. And the others just haven't started yet. I've color coded these so you can kind of easily see, which ones are associated with which status. And then I'm not going to call this up. Well, maybe it's going to be called up on the screen. Oops, let me put it there. See if Nick has seen this, or no, he's seen something else. So let me reshare the other document that I provided in the packet. So the other thing that I have done, and this is another thing that the state library has done, is that as part of these quarterly updates, and I might make this look a little prettier in the future, but the idea is, just to kind of give you an update on what activity has happened in the past 3 months. And so on here, I've just pulled out each one that we've made that has moved, the status has changed from not yet started to something else, and just kind of giving you some bullet points on, okay, when I say that this initiative is in the planning phase, what does that mean? And so just giving some information about this. So for example, I'll just do the first one as an example for the development administrative and technical requisites to facilitate OCS student data. We had a meeting between library staff, school district staff, our county network office staff last week. I I wish I could spend an hour on this. This is so exciting. But we made really great progress on it. We basically have a plan and a timeline put together. Really, the biggest thing that we have to do now is work on a memorandum of understanding between the various parties, but we've got one that's successfully used by a local county and their school districts in their cities, so we don't think there's going to be any difficulty in adapting that for our use. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to presume everybody had a chance to read these. The way I'd like to approach this in the future is if you have questions, about any of these, I'm certainly happy to answer. Or if you have questions on why something hasn't been started or why it's, in a status, I'm certainly happy for questions on those. So as a reporting mechanism, at least for the next couple of quarters, does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Since this is a really nice format, I don't think it needs to be prettier.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I won't put too much effort into making it pretty.
Brevity is good in this case. I mean, I really.
Your summary template, I can steal. I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'll tell Wendy to say library. That's spreading all throughout. So, okay. So this sounds good. Okay.
Yes.
And then I guess the other thing I wanted to do at this meeting was, again, my plan is I'm going to bring these back to the board next month just for an official, hey, is this look good? Because that's the T that I didn't cross. Before that, are there any of these particular activities that you have questions about, or you don't think they hit the mark, or that you don't feel they jive with the strategic priorities that we identified? I don't remember any discussion in the past about that. The only discussion I do remember was there was a question about on this activity. It was the goal of the activity is why it's focused just on school district, kids in the school district having library cards. And my answer to that right now would be, since this is kind of a tactical plan, and this is the first, we would love to have every school age kid in our service area having a library card. This is the first tactic that if we focus on the school district first and get that set up, that takes out a huge chunk of those kids in our service area and just kind of gets that set up. And then in the future, we can identify different tactics, different things that we want to do to try to get the rest of it. So that was the only feedback that I kind of remember from the last time looking at my notes. But if there was anything I missed, I want to hear from the board if there's anything that you feel needs to be changed.
We'll have a chance to go through this at the next board meeting. Sure. There are a couple of things that occurred to me. One of the first one, I think that deadline is too far off. I mean, I don't know why it's going to take the end of 2025 in order to implement this.
On the school card ones? So I can tell you with the timetable that we have with the school district, so the very abbreviated version, the goal is in May of next year, 2024, so spring of this school year, is we are going to do a pilot of I believe it's one first grade class, one or two first grade classes, and the thought behind that is we just need to make sure the data transfer works okay. And this is a solved problem. Other districts have done this. It's not hard to do, but it's before we take that next step of doing a huge amount of data, we want to make sure that we've got it down. So that's the first one. The reason that we put by December 31st, 2025, and Heidi, you may be able to speak to this more eloquently than I can, but in order to do it for the school year, to say, okay, we're going to do this for all those school district kids during the school year, the school district first, that they start putting together their new parent packet in June of this year. So they need time to put together the packet, which is going to include a form that says, hey, do you want your kid to have automatically have a library card that's based on their student ID? Because the parent, we're going to do it as an opt-in. Sure. The parents have to say yes. So the school district needs time to put that all together. When the school year starts, they don't really finalize their rosters until mid-October. I mean, that's kind of when it gets frozen. My understanding is that's when it gets frozen.
Is our date.
Yeah, because before then, kids can transfer, put in requests to transfer schools. And so so when talking with the school district said, okay, that freeze happens in October. By November, we'll be, they'll be calm enough that they can, ship us the data. We can get it done. We want to give our network office a couple of weeks to massage it. So we figure by December, that's why we picked that December date to have the actual first round.
And the second one was, I see nothing on there about the book lockers.
It's there.
Well, I was looking at number 2, that's why.
It is right here, improve access to, no, sorry, it's on here.
Must be further down. Okay,
Yes, it's further down, it is right here. 4.1, so we're going to facilitate after hours and offsite access to physical materials. So by June 30, 2024, develop an implementation plan.
Never mind.
Yep. So it's there.
I'm interested in that, but that has budget implications too, yeah.
Yes, it does. And we have put aside money in the budget this biennium. So we put aside $100,000 so that we can, so that we can say for matching. Honestly, the biggest, not hurdle, the process there, this is multiple libraries are going to be doing this. And so we've decided at the consortium level that the amount of money we're talking about, it needs to be a county procurement. And so when you're talking procurements of that size, there are just steps that you have to go through. So our internal timeline is that we plan to have a request for, it's probably going to be different is that Lisa knows all this. I don't know if it's going to be an RFQ or an RFP, but our goal is to have that ready to go by the start of next calendar year. And so January, so we'll put out a call to vendors, and this week, and in between now and that time, all the libraries have been having discussions on what do we need, what do we want to tell vendors, this is what we want you to quote us on, this is what we want you to propose for. That's just a long process. So I'm more confident the funding part, that's going to be in some way. We've already had the difficulty in getting that passed budgetarily. Now it's just implementing and make sure we're following all the procurement rules, and then the nitty gritty of operations of, all right, we got to find a place that's somewhat out of the sunlight, out of the rain, has data and has power, and work with people to scope out where these things are going to go. But that's why we kind of set it up. This first year, the tactical plan is just kind of getting all our ducks in a row so that we know what we're going to do. Next year, we'll deploy, and I said we will deploy at least one, and I predict we will hopefully have that.
I might be a fan of having one here too. That's what I'm used to in Moldova.
That is our plan at the moment was we will do a pilot one probably here, somewhere very close by, so we will just kind of learn how it works and what the ins and outs are, and then while we're doing that, start looking. We're going to work with our county GIS departments to kind of pick some places that we think it's going to work. And we've already got some ideas. And also try to get the county to figure out. I don't think it's ever going to happen until we get a new district rate passed, but I would love for them to be the ones to service the doctors and take materials out there and bring them back. But that's a whole funding thing.
Greg, I'm conscious of time. It's after 6 already. We've gotten halfway through the agenda.
Yeah.
What's the pleasure of the board? Continue?
Move along.
Yep. Okay, good. I'm fine on there.
Okay. Does that work for you, Nick?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
All right. And the last thing we have on our agenda tonight is Behavior policy. I had hoped to have some of our attorney's comments back before tonight. He's got some other things he's working on, and so I predict that when this comes back to you again for formal review, there may be some changes, but we can certainly have a great discussion now. Hopefully, I don't think there's anything in here that's going to be too controversial. I'll just my remarks will be. Like I said in the staff report, the goal in updating this was first, we have a goal of looking at policies, especially the major ones, every 3 years. I would say that, over the past 5 years, 6 years, we've learned a lot about some new behavior challenges that we face, and knowing that when it comes to actually having to enforce them, we didn't have the policy backing that we needed, in order to deal with some of this. And it's not like they happen every single day. It's not like they should happen.
Is it every day or twice a week or something?
Depends on the severity. Yeah, it depends on the week. Our last big example was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. We had to basically evacuate the Carnegie in the lobby and call the police, and they had obviously, I like how Garth always puts it, not sharing the same reality that we were, but it was very hostile and very aggressive and threatening. And staff did a great job of just dealing with it. The small, the minor ones, that's probably a daily thing. Sleeping is probably one of the big ones. Improper use of bathrooms is something that we see a lot of, and minor things like that. So we wanted to make some changes that would help us, help us better be able to deal with some of the situations that we do face that weren't kind of identified in the existing policy. I did put some notes about those in the staff report. One of the biggest changes we're trying to make is that our current behavior policy really, when it talks about weapons that are permitted in the library, it relies on Oregon City Municipal Code, which is very narrow on what weapons you can exclude. And we have talked informally with our attorney previously, and he feels that we do have the opportunity to expand that so that we can identify a greater class of weapons that we don't want in the library. I mean, basically right now it's firearms and blades over a certain length or something like that. But there's like pepper spray we can't do anything about. There's just things that we can't do anything about. So we found some language in ORS and statute that identifies, these are the kind of weapons you probably don't want to have in a public facility if you can help it. And our attorney has informally said he believes there is a legally defensible method for getting this in there. So that's one thing that we were really interested in. We got a lot of staff feedback on that. We would like to feel safer at work to at least have a policy which restricts more weapons from coming in. The other thing we tried to do is in our current policy, there were some, behavior paragraphs that were 2 or 3 things packed into one paragraph, and just the way my brain works, I like it simple. So I like, kind of one thing per line. I think it helps when we're trying to document what happens and why we're excluding somebody. So we can just say, oh, it was 3.1, 2.6, like that. We put in something, just a little information about information sharing. It is very helpful in the library world when libraries do share information about really bad situations. For example, the person that was here that we had to call the police on 3 weeks ago, I did let a couple of libraries who were next to us know, because our experience is if they get included in one library, they're going to go to another one.
Bars do that.
Yes. But with libraries, information sharing is a thing. We have that privacy, so we've tried to be, thoughtful about, we're only going to share. To me, it's once you violated the behavior policy, any of your actions that we document about that's fair game. That's not protected. That's not protected information. I'm happy to tell my library colleagues that somebody was in there, knocked the computer off, and threatened the life of my staff. That we can share. So we put that in there. We also put in, this is actually something that's come up recently. We didn't have a good way through policy to deal with this. So we put in a little, something that gives us the opportunity to take a different approach with minors, who may be violating behavior policy because they're teenage boys and the brains, they're aren't fully developed yet. And so we've had lots of internal conversations like, okay, yes, this behavior keeps happening. It's really hard to tell a 14-year-old, you can't come to the library for 6 months. So we put something in there that's basically the next thing we're going to do is we're going to contact the parents. We're going to say you have to accompany your minor. Your minor obviously can't be in the library, can't successfully be on their own. So they're welcome in, but we are going to make you come in with them. And hopefully that will mortify the teens.
Don't tell my parents.
Yes. So we put that in, and I think and then we did change the exclusion appeal process. So it was funny. We were reading through it, and as you saw in your packet, the appeal process currently says, here's an informal appeal process, and it's got things like you will schedule a hearing, and you can bring witnesses, and there's nothing informal about that. So we've tried to simplify it to basically saying, you can certainly provide us information why, you feel this is not just the things that I would be interested in hearing about in such an appeal would basically be, I didn't do what staff, said I did. But if there's something particularly egregious, we certainly understand there are extenuating circumstances and people have different challenges they're facing, but I feel very strongly that I have a responsibility to protect my staff. And so I'm not sure, that's really, all I would need to hear from a person is, just tell us, if you want to share why something happens, and if you've got ideas about how, you're going to make sure that doesn't happen, we get a caregiver, we can certainly evaluate that, but I'm not really interested in the whole. So high level, those are kind of some of the changes. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer questions or if you have feedback.
Yeah, I'm curious, as usual, what's the magnitude of the people on sanction that try to get in anyway? Is the front desk the gatekeeper, and do they have a list of, is it
Yes.
14 people on suspension and they all know the person's
Right now, it's about a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we used to just have pictures posted in the circulation department. So in last biennium's budget, and we had kind of we would take incident reports and just write them up in Microsoft Word documents and put them on a file server somewhere. It was really hard to search and really hard to, especially when you saw the same person multiple times. So last biennium, we put in some money for a system, an incident tracking system that's used by a lot of libraries. It's got the worst acronym of all. It's called PITS, which is Patron Incidents. And
You have to exist.
yes. It's been really helpful for us because, we can go in and it makes it much easier to identify, okay, is there a person that has pattern behavior? Staff are now trained, when they come in first thing in the morning, log into PITS, kind of see what's happened, what incidents have happened since the last time you've been in. And then there's a link you can click. It shows all the excluded people in one place. It tells you when their exclusion ends. It's got pictures. If we have pictures, it's got pictures there. And I think that's been helpful for staff.
But do they try to challenge and come in before the sanction is over? Or
Sometimes.
is it self?
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And then we remind them that they are not welcome right now, and or depending on the person and the incident that got them kicked out, sometimes we say, don't approach the person, just call the police.
Yeah. And there's a good outcome. Like recently, in the last 6 months, I won't say her name because of extra privacy, but there was a patron who 5 or 6 years ago was well known. Like if I said her name, Lisa would know exactly who about it. It was a problem, a very violent, disruptive presence all throughout the city. And so she was excluded permanently from the library. And through our work with Loved One and Private Heart, we learned that she got medication, she got support, she's got stable housing. She's actually on Loved Ones or Public Heart's board.
Loved Ones.
Now she's on Loved One's governing board and they approached us and they said, she's ready to come back. And we took a look at that and we said, oh yeah, this is a different person.
Yeah, she came into the library and was using the computer, and a staff member recognized her, and so I contacted her and we had a little talk, and yeah, she's back.
Yeah. So
And that's a good thing.
yeah,
That is a good thing. Yeah.
so
A couple of times, actually, some mental health things. There was a young guy just outside the door, ready to come in, that just was out of it. I mean, he was talking to mysterious things, and he obviously was not approachable even. And we called the police, and they came, and they knew him, and,
He's a daily patron.
okay, is it, okay.
I came up with a couple of things. One very minor grammar Nazi thing.
those are
That's usually me, so I'm able to learn.
1.4.
okay.
All the other things here, like our ings, this gerunds.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that one isn't. So I think it almost has to be something like failure to wear appropriate clothing, just to keep it in parallel.
Okay.
The second one was 211, which I think involved bicycles and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was just thinking, we might want to run that by the insurance people. We may want to exclude more items like skateboarding and so on, right, which I don't think.
Skateboard's on there.
Skateboards, yeah.
Third one.
It was, just to make sure, it's inclusive enough.
Yeah, and we did on that one, it's, bicycles, roller skates, skateboards, classicals, or other similar equipment in the library or on library walkways in a manner that interferes with access to
And
home.
drones. And then 3.5.
Yes, that's yep.
The second thing there is possession, but you can't take something, even if it's prescribed, if you don't possess it.
Okay, 3.5, so bringing a dangerous weapon, deadly weapon, or firearm.
No, sorry. It's the one on drugs.
Oh, yes. All right, 3.6, using without a prescription, possessing.
Yeah, in other words, if you can't possess it, it's impossible for you to use it. So I think it should be, once again, parallel there, or in parentheses or something. Can't use or possess.
Okay.
Because otherwise that first issue is moot.
Our goal, okay, we can certainly look at that. The initial goal was to basically say, we don't want you selling, we don't want you distributing, we don't want you possessing, and we don't want you using it. So we specifically identified those, like, we don't even want people.
I think just an or. Possessing or using.
Okay. And as you.
I'm thinking of, Boolean charts and so on.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Use or possess, sell, distribute.
And are you okay with keeping the selling and distributing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Yes,
If I know something, I know where to get it.
Okay.
It's great. I realized that reading through this, Lauren Boebert would have been thrown out of the library 5 times in the last month.
We can't all be bothered.
Speaker today, and even sidekick and different.
I think the only thing I wanted to point out, I did point in the staff report, we did, and this is something that of the things that we put in there, this is something the attorney may have some feedback on. For those folks who have committed severe violations who have been excluded, our previous version is basically the exclusion automatically expires at a certain time. The way we've phrased it here is it's all a permanent exclusion, which you may appeal after a certain time.
Yeah.
Because I don't just want, on October 20th, a year from now, this person suddenly comes in and we didn't remember, or we have no thing out of it. I want this person to approach us and say, okay, it's been a year. Here's why I think I should be allowed.
Yeah, like this one.
So that's a change in the way we did things, and
So the city attorney's looking at this now.
yes, city attorney is.
So all of this is based on physical presence here. That doesn't prevent them from using online resources, or does it?
No, a lot of this is just you come in the building and you
Right.
not.
So even if a person is excluded physically, he or she, they, whatever pronoun their preference is, can still use all of the electronic interlibrary loan, all those other things. So we're not really preventing anybody from library access, are we?
Well, they would not be able to come and browse or pick up a hold if they are excluded from the building. Once we have book lockers,
Okay.
that could be something. But yeah,
That's
online.
true. I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But the card is turned off.
Yeah, the card is not turned off.
They could use electronic books and things like that.
Right.
And they would be able to, our local behavior policy exclusions do not impact their ability to go to any other Clackamas County library. So it's
Interesting. Yeah.
We've talked with the county in the past. The big sticking point is a due process thing. So if we were to say we're excluding it from Oregon City and that's going to go for all of the Clackamas County libraries, who does that person appeal to? Is that the Board of County Commissioners because it's a countywide thing? Is it Oregon City because they initiated it? Is it these other libraries because they're letting something? So just the structure of our cooperative makes it kind of difficult to do that.
Great. Anything else?
Were there any other comments on that? Any other feelings that this is the hardest one because we want to be welcoming, but I also feel very strongly I have to protect my staff and I have to protect the other families.
And you're not truly limiting their access to library resources for the most part.
Right.
So a 14-year-old kid that totally messes up and gets excluded, but he's really sorry, can still do his homework assignments and that sort of thing by using the online resources.
Yeah,
There you go.
There are consequences, but we haven't totally closed the door.
And none of these are terribly, I mean, they're all common sense.
Right.
Or legal.
Yeah, yes,
Legal
yeah.
behaviors.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So I will, once we have attorney's feedback, I will bring this back for formal passage to a future one. And if I may take 2 minutes on the scheduling thing.
I wanted to communications too.
Oh, yes, sorry. Do communications.
Okay, communications. LDAC, have we gotten anything back from the county?
I'll let you report that, Greg. I haven't heard anything new other than the fact that they were supposed to have a meeting, but I don't know what the status of that is.
We are not, it's been on the schedule for the county commissioners to talk about an executive session for a few weeks now. It keeps getting pushed. So I have to find out. I talked with somebody today. We're not quite sure if it happened. They have their executive session on Tuesday.
Okay, great.
But nothing that I don't know anything yet.
All right, great. And the Friends?
We didn't meet.
No. Okay, and the Foundation?
No, we're backwards here.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Foundation, Friends? Sorry.
The Friends did meet, and I think you had a meeting just before this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're still discussing what to do in December and the annual meeting. But the big thing is that, once again, they've been very generous to us, and they funded the basket weaving program, and also a big donation for additional e-resources, which you're very careful to point out goes to Link technically, even though it's for our use.
Right. And that was a direct response to the feedback we got from the unincorporated survey, which said one of the top priorities was additional downloadable content. And we went to the Friends and said, this is what we heard from our patrons. And will you help us meet that need in the short term? And so they were very generous, $5,000. They gave to us, and we're going to write up a press release to give it.
Good.
And just it's about sort of a save the date where there's going to be sort of a party and a bit of a fundraiser for the combination of the Friends and the Foundation.
It's a separate annual meeting, as I understand.
Yes, the Friends will do their annual meeting. I think the plan is to do it separately.
And then the teens and.
Teens met on the 15th. They have their own leadership now, so they have a chairperson. They're learning some rules. They set up their own code of conduct as well. How they can make sure that everyone has a chance to speak and share. There's some individual groups, one being stacks, a club around manga and anime, social media, and then kind of a future discussion over redoing the area up here. There was some money put aside with the city budget, and so that's kind of a future discussion that they were going, kind of getting their dreams together to bring back to the group for the next year.
Anything else for the good of the order? No.
Logistics are, we've got 2 positions whose terms expire again this year, so we will have to do board interviews. You will get those all scheduled. I guess my question is, those are going to have to be done in November. It's pushed to December. All right.
Who expires?
David and Heidi,
Oh, my.
but I think I'm okay to share.
Expires. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was thinking of the two-term maximum. That's
No. They are both eligible to reapply and it's all public record anyway. They have reapplied. We have some other applications as well, so we'll have to review those like we've done before. Do we want to try to do it on the same day as our normal meeting day and just kind of, do the work session first?
I sort of like to do that, and we can extend it a little bit if we can, and just plan for a longer meeting then.
Yeah, if we all plan on an extra 45 minutes to an hour, then we'll do it all. We don't have to drive
So
here.
let's just plan for the November meeting to be a little bit longer.
Okay, and we'll get that all scheduled. I didn't remember to put it on here, so I will also mail out the questions that we've used in the past, and I will just ask you, I will ask you if you have any feedback on those questions to provide them to me one-on-one. I think the last time we did this, we all kind of felt that they were pretty good questions. I want you to have an opportunity to review the questions before we interview, these are your interviews and this is your board, so I want to make sure you're comfortable. Yes.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great meeting.